She called me on a Tuesday morning crying, not because something terrible had just happened, but because she finally admitted it had been happening for months. Her name was Margaret, 72 years old, sharp as a tack, her whole life. A retired school teacher who could recite poetry from memory and never forgot a birthday. She told me she'd woken up that morning and couldn't remember the word for the thing you use to stir your coffee. She stood in her kitchen for 4 full minutes, staring at a spoon. I know what it's called," she told me. "I can feel it sitting right there, but it's like the door is locked." I've been in integrative medicine for over 20 years. I've worked with more than 4,000 patients, and a huge portion of them, especially the ones over 60, come to me with this exact experience. Not dementia, not a dramatic memory failure, just this quiet, creeping fog, words that disappear, names that slip, that terrifying feeling of reaching for something that used to always be there. And the most heartbreaking part? In most of those cases, the damage was happening at night, while they slept, or more accurately, while they didn't sleep the way their brain desperately needed them to. I need you to stay with me on this, because what I'm about to share changed how I practice medicine, and it may change how you live the next decade of your life. Most people over 60 are making at least one serious sleep mistake, not out of laziness or ignorance, but because nobody ever told them that the rules of sleep change dramatically as we age. What worked for you at 40 can quietly destroy your brain at 70. And the medical community has been embarrassingly slow to bring this conversation to the people who need it most. Here is what's actually happening inside your brain while you sleep. There is a system in your brain called the glymphatic system. Think of it as your brain's overnight cleaning crew. While you're in deep sleep, this system activates and literally flushes out toxic waste, including a protein called beta amyloid, which is one of the primary compounds researchers associate with cognitive decline. Your brain doesn't clean itself while you're awake. It can only do this during specific stages of deep sleep. A landmark study published in the journal Science found that the glymphatic system is nearly 10 times more active during sleep than during waking hours. 10 times. That is not a small difference. That is the difference between a brain that is regenerating and one that is slowly being buried in its own waste. And here is where it gets personal for most of my patients, because after 60, the architecture of your sleep changes. You spend less time in the deep, slow-wave stages. You wake more easily. You drift in and out instead of going down into those restorative depths. This means that even if you're in bed for 8 hours, your brain may be getting almost none of the cleaning time it needs. But there are specific behaviors, things you might be doing every single night, that are making this dramatically worse. The first one is something almost everyone over 60 does, and I used to do it myself: sleeping at inconsistent times. I'm not talking about staying up an hour late occasionally. I'm talking about the quiet chaos that happens when your bedtime drifts. Some nights 10, some nights midnight. Some nights you fall asleep on the couch at 8 and then lie awake at 3 in the morning wondering why you feel so wretched. Your brain depends on circadian rhythm the way your heart depends on a steady beat. When that rhythm is disrupted, the glymphatic system cannot fully activate. The cleaning crew never shows up. The second mistake is one that feels completely harmless: sleeping on your back. I know. Your doctor told you it's fine, maybe even good for your spine. And for some things, it is. But research from Stony Brook University showed that sleeping on your side, specifically your right or left side, dramatically increases how efficiently your glymphatic system drains that toxic waste from your brain. When you sleep on your back, the drainage pathway is compromised. Night after night, year after year, that compromise accumulates. The third mistake is the one that breaks my heart the most, because it's the one people think is helping them: using alcohol to fall asleep. I have patients, wonderful, well-intentioned people, who have 1 glass of wine before bed because it helps them relax, and it does help them fall asleep. but alcohol suppresses REM sleep and slow-wave sleep almost completely. It sedates you, but it does not let you rest. You may sleep 9 hours and wake up more cognitively depleted than if you'd slept 5. Your brain was unconscious, but the cleaning crew never came. The fourth is blue light exposure in the 90 minutes before bed. I know you've heard this before, but I don't think anyone has told you what actually happens in your brain. Blue light suppresses melatonin, but more than that, it delays the onset of your first slow-wave sleep cycle by anywhere from 45 minutes to over an hour. That first deep cycle is the most restorative of the night. If you're scrolling your phone or watching television until the moment you close your eyes, you may be robbing your brain of the single most important window of nightly repair it has. Now, I want to pause here for a moment because I know some of you are watching this and thinking, I've been doing some of these things for years, maybe all of them. And I want to say something to you directly, as someone who has walked this path with many patients. This is not a failure. You didn't know. Nobody told you. The goal right now is not guilt. The goal is to start giving your brain what it has been silently asking for. If this is landing for you, if something in this is connecting with something you've been feeling, I want you to go to the pinned comment right now. I've left something important there that I'll talk more about in just a moment. Go check that comment and then come back. Now, the fifth mistake, and the one that surprises my patients the most, eating within 2 hours of sleep. When you eat late, your body diverts energy to digestion. Your core temperature rises. Insulin spikes. All of this suppresses the hormonal environment your brain needs to enter deep sleep. I have seen patients completely transform their sleep quality simply by moving their last meal to at least 2.5 hours before bedtime. Simple, unglamorous, profoundly effective. What I want you to understand is that these aren't small inconveniences. Every night that your glymphatic system can't do its job fully is a night your brain doesn't get fully clean. Over months, over years. That accumulation is what Margaret was feeling in her kitchen that Tuesday morning, standing there with a spoon she couldn't name. Now, I promised I'd tell you about something I discovered. And I want to be honest with you about where this came from. After years of working on exactly this problem, the glymphatic system, the nighttime brain, the slow, quiet erosion that I watched happen to so many of my patients, I started researching compounds that could directly support what the brain does during sleep. Not sedate it, not force it, support it. What I found, and eventually helped develop into a formula, is called the brain song. I don't want you to leave this video without knowing it exists. It's not a sleeping pill. It's not a sedative. It's a nutritional formula specifically designed to support the exact nighttime brain processes I've been describing. The deep cycle activity, the glymphatic function, the neurological environment that allows real restoration to happen. I've seen what it does in my practice. I've heard the reports from patients who had given up hope that they could feel sharp again. The link is in the pinned comment. That's the only place I'll put it. Because this isn't an advertisement. It's something I genuinely believe you deserve to know about. Dorothy from Georgia, she's 67, came to me after 2 years of what she called morning fog, so thick I couldn't think until noon. Within 6 weeks of the sleep changes and adding this formula, she told me she woke up one morning and read an entire chapter of her book before breakfast. She cried when she told me. Carol from Arizona is 71. She was convinced she was in early cognitive decline. Her daughter was worried. She made every single change I've described in this video. And she told me 3 months later that her daughter said, "Mom, you seem like yourself again." Linda from Tennessee, 68, had been using wine to fall asleep for 11 years. She was terrified to stop. When she did, combined with everything else, she said the first deep sleep she got felt like waking up from a coma. "I forgot what it felt like to actually rest," she told me. Barbara from Virginia is 74. She was the most skeptical person I've ever worked with. She told me straight to my face that she thought all of this was probably nonsense. 6 weeks later, she called my office and said, "I owe you an apology and a thank you." These are not extraordinary people. They're people just like you, who were doing their best with information they never had. You now have that information. Your brain is still trying. It is still reaching toward restoration every single night. The question is whether you're going to give it the conditions it needs. Start tonight. Not next week, not after the holidays, tonight. Move your last meal earlier. Turn off the screen 90 minutes before bed. Try sleeping on your side. Anchor your sleep and wake time to the same hour every day, and go to the pinned comment. Read what I left there. I genuinely believe it belongs in this conversation, and I don't want you to miss it. Your memory is not just fading. It's asking for help, and now you know how to answer.